a couple of other situations when I'm in on a single. Sometimes, when my partner gets in a whizzer, what they're trying to do is they're trying to break my grip by stomping down and lifting my arm up. And that way, for example, they'd be able to come in for a throw here, or to be basically to be able to attack with their hip. So one situation is when they have the single, they get the whizzer and they're going to pull up like this to try to break that grip. If I can keep my head and I can keep my opponent's weight over this leg here, that's very difficult. But we're going to presume that he was able to get better position into me. He's got a good whizzer, and at this point he's pulling his whizzer up as he's pulling his foot or pushing his foot down. If that's the case, I may not be able to maintain my grip for very long. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up the crotch quickly. So I'm in here, Colby's pushing, and I resist as long as I can. And if I could, I might try a knee tap or whatever. So I don't want to hang out there too long. But we're going to presume that Colby's beating me in this situation. And so when I'm feeling at the point where my grip is not going to be effective any longer, and he's pulling up, it's going to go right up his crotch, and I'm going to lift up to this position here. And then I'm going to kick the leg out. When I lift, I'm in this position here. I keep it at his knee. But when I feel like I'm going to lose it, I quickly slide it up his crotch. And I want you to notice when I lift, I want to lift up this way. I'm up on my toes, like this. I've got him up in the air. I'm going to help push with my head, kick with my foot and my knee to try to arc his body back this way, and then I'll bring him down. So I'm resisting, I'm feeling my grip is going to lose its place here. Then I'm going to come up to here. From here, I'm going to push with my head, push with my foot, and down. I'm going to push with my head, push with my foot. Very similar to that throw that I was demonstrating earlier when Colby had the whizzer, and I was in here, and I went straight back. The same principle. And incidentally, that basic principle works fine a lot of times just in here, just to get the foot out. If my partner has his foot in here, a lot of times I can push to get the foot out with that same type of maneuver. That's just an aside while we're in this position. And sometimes even in this position, I can almost knock him down without actually having to go all the way to the throw, depending upon where his foot is. If his foot, I notice, is slightly more in front, typically I can bring him down. For example, if his foot, Colby's foot was here, it'd be a little bit more difficult. But if my body was such that all of a sudden my angle is slightly behind Colby here, typically that type of technique may bring him down, or at least it will get him off balance. Again, that's just a couple of asides from that particular position. But my point here is that pushing with the head and popping with the knee and the ankle in an arc has some utility in a couple different positions and in a couple different situations. Once more now, with Colby pulling hard on that whizzer, I resist as long as I can, and I feel like I'm losing it. And when I lose this grip, I don't lackadaisically or slowly slide it up. I'm going to break very quickly, and my hips are going to go into him. And he's pushing his foot down. I'm here, and I'm going to push and down. So once more, I'm in this position. Colby's pushing, and when I can't maintain this any longer, I come up and I push down. Push with my head, push with my foot. From that same position, if you don't want to lift, and I think this is a somewhat more efficient move, if Colby's doing the same thing, instead of me sliding to his crotch, I'm going to come up a little higher and come around his body. When I do, it will be particularly important that I can be pushing my head in to his chest in this direction to keep his weight back. I don't want him to be in this situation. When I break away, I want him to be in this situation here, and I will be in a good position to finish. So I have a single in here. Colby's beating my grip. Now watch, I'm going to step and grab at the same time to here. Now I want you to notice, kind of move around, Colby. Notice where my leg was. My ankle is to his ankle, my knee is to his knee. My body, my lock is around his waist. I'm not lifting up. I'm sagging. I'm sagging down because I want the weight heavy on his feet, because I wanted to make it very difficult for him to be mobile and to be able to recover, and for him to be able to have enough mobility to defend against me in this position. If I can be pushing into him, his weight is going to be slightly backwards, and I'm going to finish from that position. So I'm in here. I'm just going to prod as I keep the weight down, not like this, but like this, pulling in tight with this type of a grip here, wrist on wrist, in. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to push with my ankle, push with my knee, kind of how we were before, to this position here. And I'll bring my other knee behind. Colby pushes in. I come to here. I'm going to push. I'm going to come down. Colby pushes in. When I break, I'm not going to be slow like this, else he's going to get a productive grip on me and be able to defend or re-attack. When I go, I hold on for as long as I can, boom, as quick as I can. You'll notice my weight is on this front foot and my head is already pushing. I'm not going to grab with my weight back here and then try to step through. When I step, my weight is already on that front foot, my head is already pushing, and I'm sagging all at once. I'm here. Now, Colby's weight is back. As long as I'm tight here, and I'm not trying to pull him into me, I'm sagging down and I'm doing this. I'm pulling in, pushing through with my head, trying to get him in a very awkward position here, and keeping him so heavy on his feet that he has difficulty retreating so that he can maintain his balance. If his feet are heavy, he's going to have trouble catching up to my direction, pushing him backwards. Here, you'll notice my head isn't tight, knee to knee, ankle to ankle. Now from here, I can just adjust my knee and come down, or alternatively from here, I can lock up. What happens if I lock up this? It makes it difficult for him to pull out. So if I lock this up here, from this position, I can just come straight down here. He's got no post if I take the Whizzer away. And that would be another option. Probably safest to come straight through, get your knee in and come down, or go straight through and just crush down. But you also have a sort of a side throw from there. We'll be going over more that type of throwing technique in a future module here, but that's another option. Colby pulls in. I attack here very tight. I'm low. Look at, not hip to hip. My hip is lower than his hip. Ankle to ankle, knee to knee. I'm pushing into him here. I can step through and bring him down, or alternatively, I can just crush down. Of course, be careful. Submission wrestling. But you don't get a half guard, which I think makes it an advantage to try to get your knee in before you actually bring your partner or your opponent down, so that you have better position there. Finally, one more time with locking the Whizzer up. I come to here tight. Colby maintains his Whizzer. I lock that in. I'm pulling my body into this to sandwich his hand. Here. And I'm pinching my elbow in like this, pushing my chest in, pinching my elbow in. I'm going to try to immobilize that hand just for a moment. Eventually he'll be able to pull it out. But I want to immobilize it enough so that I pin it to my body so he can't pull it out. If he pulls it out, if I come here and we come down, we may have a dog fight if he can get that post out to keep himself up. However, if I come in here and I lock tight and come back, he's got no post. And again, I end up on his side. When I'm in on the single, and here, and Colby pulls my arms up. At first I resist, and when I come around to the body, I want you to notice it's ankle to ankle, knee to knee. I'm low as opposed to high with the grip here. I'm low. And also notice too, I'm sagging. My head is in Colby's chest. My first goal is to keep things very heavy on this leg and take him slightly to the side and down. However, sometimes in doing that, my opponent steps back, and if he does, I immediately transfer to the opposite side. Ankle to ankle, knee to knee, head to chest, around his waist low, and then I take him down that way. And if he steps back again, I continue with the other side. Each time, ankle to ankle, knee to knee, locked low on the waist, head towards the chest, pushing in. If he steps back, I step, transition my head, crunch in. If he steps back, transition, crunch. Back and forth like that. A miscellaneous type finish that I'll show here is if I've come in and gotten a single leg and I'm farther away, perhaps Colby has pushed my head away as we discussed before, and I'm in this situation here, he might still be pushing my head away because he does not want me to get close at this point. He's trying to keep me away. One option from here is for me to go under this leg and through. I'm going to do that in a couple of steps. First is I got to lift this leg up and come underneath it to here. Now I don't want to be keeping my hips up and my head down. So when I duck, I want as best I can keep my head up and my hips down, as opposed to head down and hips up. So I'm in this position. Colby might be defending this way. I gotta come to this position here. Immediately, you can see my angle here is not real favorable. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to turn into Colby and come up around his body. Now, from here, I'm going to sweep his foot out and bring him down. So, and further on down the leg, I'm pinching to make sure he can't dive through. And I'm going to duck under here, and I'm just going to lift this up as I put my head through. This is going to be around, the crook of his knee is going to be around my neck. So from here to here. Now from here, immediately I transition up high to here. I take this tight. He can tell you I'm sandwiching his knee in very tight here. Then I'm going to sweep this out and bring him down. Now, one thing that's important, particularly I think in submission wrestling, is to be able to avoid a triangle in this type of position. First of all, frankly, if your opponent is a lot taller than you, this probably isn't the best type of technique. It's going to be better when we're roughly the same size. Colby is slightly taller than I am, but not too much taller. But when I come under here to this position, and then immediately come through the body, I'm tall first. I want to squunch him very tight. I do not want to let this leg come to the outside. I want to keep this leg controlled, so I'm squunching and I'm putting weight on it. He can't hop up very easily now. Okay? So I don't worry so much about the triangle from this position. The other thing is, what I want to do as best as I can, and the taller my opponent is relative to me, the less effective I'm likely to be in this, is I want to be able to get my pressure so that he can't pull his knee down all the way. If I'm too low on his knee here, jump up, triangle. I'm vulnerable. So one, I want to try to stay as high up on the leg as I can. Two, I want to be very tight, squishing him in tight like a sandwich. That is his thigh. Three, I want to make sure that there's weight on this leg and it's controlled so that it can't come up and around me. I'm tight here, I'm blocking this in this position here. I can step through or I can sweep out.